Hi guys, I'm Chelsea. Welcome back to my channel, A Recipe Land. I wasn't going to take this video tonight. I'm tired. I've had a long day. And I was going to take it tomorrow or, sometime this weekend. But I just got really excited because it's about books. Eek! I love books. And I just couldn't hold in my bookish self any longer. So, I'm going to do it tonight. I might look a little rough. But it's better than nothing. So, today's video is going to be about how you can homeschool with 2 things, 3 things. Because really, all you need is a book of some kind and a notebook. Magical, right? It is. It's magical. So the 3rd thing would be your library card. And then you know what? It's almost free. These little things. Spiral notebooks, what? 85 cents, y'all? You love me, right? Because I basically told you that all you need is 85 cents. Well, you might have to buy a pencil, crayons, so you know. But this is my absolute favorite way to school, hands down. I like to pick a book, have my kids pick a book, get a notebook, and go to town. So I'm going to tell you how to do that. It is very simple, but it is life-changing. Really, your mind's going to be like, phew, that was so simple. How did I not think of it? I'm going to go do it. It's great. That's what you're going to be like, okay? So we all know you can buy unit studies anywhere, right? Google unit studies for any book. It's going to pop up. But here's the thing. You're probably going to have to pay for that unit study. And then you're also going to have to print off that unit study. And ink ain't cheap, my friends. It is not. Or maybe you run out of paper. And you run out of ink. And you don't want to have to go anywhere. But now you do, right? So you can find all kinds of unit studies online. All kinds of places. And they are great. I am not dissing them at all. They're wonderful, but there's an easier way. You just have to get a little creative and think about it for a minute and kind of put yourself in the kid's place and just go with the flow. So what I mean by that is that look at the book that your kid picked, okay? And how I do this is I would get a selection, because if you just go into the library or if you just go into the bookstore, there's hundreds and hundreds of books, and that can be really overwhelming for a kid. So I would kind of say, what topic are you interested in? And it might be fiction and it might be nonfiction, and either one is fine. We're going to be doing the same things with either one. So I just brought with me Charlotte's Web, because who doesn't love Charlotte's Web? So let's say my kid had chosen Charlotte's Web, or I did. Maybe they said they wanted to learn about farm life. Maybe they said they wanted to learn about spiders. Who knows? And so what I like to do is I like to find a really good fiction book for whatever they're interested in. Because let's all be honest, fiction kind of gets us more into it. We get more involved in those fiction books a lot of times because our hearts just, they just beat for those little fiction books, don't they? So I will try to find a fiction book that goes with their interest. And then from that fiction book, so let's say my kid picked Charlotte's Web. I would say, okay, well, I know all about Charlotte's Web, right? I'm sure you've read Charlotte's Web. I'm sure you've watched Charlotte's Web. But even if you haven't, let's say you've never heard of the book, okay? Read what the book's about, okay? Go to the back, read it, Google the book, figure out the main points of the book. Then when you figure that out, so let's say I've never read this, but I read it and I know it's about a little girl who gets a pet pig. He lives on a farm with other animals, and maybe that's all I know about the book. So I'm instantly going to say, okay, from this book, we can learn about farm life, which can be a lot of things. How to raise animals, how to build barns, how farmers finance all their stuff, how they plan all their stuff, how they use the seasons, and work out all their crops. That's just from farmers, right? Then I'm going to go to the animals. There are many animals in Charlotte's Web, right? We obviously have a pig, and there's horses and cows and sheep, and depending on the age of the child would depend on how deep you go into all of this, obviously. But I could take this book and I could use it from my kindergartner all the way up to my 6th grader. It's going to work. So I would go into farm life, I would go into the animals, and I would go and get books. And this is the nonfiction part of it, right? So nonfiction farm life, nonfiction books on all the different animals. You can find things on Amazon to dissect, y'all, okay? You could probably get a pig. I don't think I could do that, but maybe you want to. So you could go really deep into all the life science of all the animals. And then they even have, what do they have in Charlotte's Web? They have the county fair. You could go into that. You could look up your county's first fair, okay? Who started it? How did it get started? How well did it do? How long has it been going? And you just have all kinds of, there's history in there, there's science in there, there's economics in there. And you're gonna have so much fun because your kids are gonna wanna know more about all that stuff because they're enjoying all the characters in this book, right? If I just decided that I feel like we should learn about animals, so here you go. Well, my kid might not give a lick about farms. They're not gonna wanna learn about that. They're gonna have no joy in that. It's not gonna stick. It's not gonna retain. They're not gonna enjoy it. We're not gonna have fun together. And really, what is the point of learning if it's not being enjoyed, right? Because if it's enjoyed, it's going to be retained so much better. If it's forced, it's going to be like, oh, let me just write this down to pass the test and let me move on. So let your kids pick their topics. Help them, though. Help them choose books because it's a vast selection and it's going to be a little overwhelming. And then take the book. If you know about it, that's great because then, like, if this was the book I was choosing at the library, I would be able to go ahead and kind of get my books. But if you don't, take time to research that book and figure out all the different things you can learn about in that book. Then you can take this book, you can pick out words in it, make that your spelling lists. And your kids will think it's fun to learn those words because they heard it in here. And this is actually a great book to get spelling words from, right? Because all the words in the web. But any book, get the spelling words from that. You can take sentences from that book and learn to diagram sentences that way. And it's going to be a lot more fun because they're really going to know about the characters in the sentence and they're going to get the funny little jokes in the sentence and just they're going to have fun doing it. And you can learn about the time period. So figure out the time period from your book and figure out what was the biggest thing historically that happened the year this book took place. And it's going to spark in their brains and they're going to remember, oh, well, that was the year that Charlotte's Web was either, that was the setting for Charlotte's Web, or maybe it was the year it was published. It's going to click and they're going to connect the year to this and think, wow, that's really cool that this happened when the author was making up that this happened. And it's all about making those sparks and those connections and that enjoyment, and it's all going to come alive, right? And it's going to feel real to them and important to them, and it's going to stick in their little brains. And here's the thing, you're reading all this together, you're making all those bonds and memories, and it gets me all kinds of excited, if you can't tell. It is my absolute favorite thing to do, you guys, is to sit down with my kids and read a book. It's my favorite thing. And it probably is yours, right? Since your kid was a baby, what do? We sit in those rocking chairs and we read to them and we tell them the poems we have memorized and we sing them the little songs. And it's just a progression. We're just getting bigger and bigger and bigger in our books and in our vocabulary. And my kids have their favorite books. Oh, Mom, remember when you read this? And all my kids, because we do it together as a family and I'm enjoying it with them, we can all make inside jokes about these books. We all can cry again about something tragic that happened in the books. We can all laugh again at the jokes that happened in the books. And they remember, like we had one book series that had a lot of Russian in it. And so my kids thought, oh my gosh, I want to learn all about Russia. And they did it on their own. I didn't even this was an evening time read aloud. But you know what? I went back and I found notebooks. And inside the notebook, my kid had written about the phases of the moon. I'd written all kinds of facts about Russia and Siberia. And I never told her to. I didn't even know she had. But she enjoyed that book so much that she was led to want to do that on her own. And that's the learning that sticks. That's what we want, right? We don't want to always be responsible that they learn. We want them to learn to want to learn learn that learning's fun, and continue to do it on their own, because we're not going to be with them their whole lives, right? We want them to be independent learners. So if you will take the time to spark that joy that we get through books, right? I'm sure that you, as a homeschool mama, are a reader. I think it just kind of comes hand in hand. Maybe you're not. Maybe you need to go and find that joy for yourself. But I guarantee you, you find the right book, it's going to spark some joy. And when we spark that joy, everything we learn about in connection with that joy is going to be retained, right? It's going to be retained up here. It's going to be retained in here. It makes a great family time. It is just for bonding and learning. And I learn so much, and I have so much fun, and I enjoy that I then have little inside things to do with my kids, right? I can make a little inside joke. Just make so much memories. And then you just do all your schoolwork, like the logistical part of this, right? You can use one notebook. That is what I do. I pick one notebook for the book. You might have to end up getting two or not. I pick one notebook for the book. We would write, this was obviously about birds, we would write on the inside cover what book we were reading and when we read it, and then the child's name. And then in here is where their assignments are going to be. Now, if you wanted to, you could get a different spiral notebook for each subject that you're getting out of the book. So you could have one for spelling, and one for language arts, and one for history, and one for science, one for economics, just whatever subjects you have. Or you could always get a binder, right, and put tabs. It's actually a really good idea. I've never thought of that before. And separate it that way. But I just get a notebook because, I mean, they're learning about it. They wrote it down. I don't need it to be super organized. I know it's in here. I do need it in here. I really am a paper person. I like to have it. And then for art, sometimes they do it in here, but a lot of times I give them, big white pieces of paper. They're blank. We get out the paints and the crayons, and I actually either they're allowed to have their artwork if they want it to themselves, or I put all that artwork from our stories into its own binder, and I keep that for a year. So then when the year's over, it's really, really fun, you guys, to open up that binder. I have like a big 3-inch binder to open it up. And so let's say we did Charlotte's Web. Well, I do artwork for it, and then each one of my 5 kids do. And I'll put it in all together. So at the end of the year, we can go through and we can see everyone's paintings or drawings, whatever they wanted to do for Charlotte's Web. Let's say after that, we had the mouse and the motorcycle, everyone's artwork. So we can really see what stood out to that person about that book. Maybe it was their favorite scene. Maybe it's what meant the most, what they just really got from it. And it's just really fun to look back and see, oh, I remember when that happened. I remember painting that, drawing that, whatever it was that you did. So that's how I keep the artwork for the book, unless maybe it's for science and I'm going to say, hey, I need you to draw and label the parts of a pig, the parts of a spider, right? I need you to do plans for a barn. I want to see how you're going to design it, how that's going to go. I want you to create your budget for your farm, right? I need to know how much you're going to spend on each crop, how much you need to spend on equipment, how much you're going to put into animal care. I want to see your budget, right? So that would be like for your economics. So some things, like I said, I think I was talking about art. Some things that might seem like art, but they're not really, they're going to go in here. Like their plans for their barn, they're labeled animals, or maybe Charlotte's Web, the setting of it. I want you to draw the country it was from, draw the state it was from, and label that and show me the main geographical sites. And I would put that in here because that's more school, where the other is more art. I think you can see that I was excited. I'm sorry if I talked really, really fast. I get uber excited about books. And that is my favorite way to do school. And it is incredibly cheap. Am I right? And you might think that it wouldn't be enough. My kid's not going to learn enough because it's not in some pre-packaged formula like here is exactly what a 4th grader needs to know. But let's get real. There's no way to say that this kid at this age has to learn about that. That is something that we've been told and now we believe, and it's not true. Like I said, I could use this book, and I do this. We've already done this book, but with any read aloud. All my kids, from my 3-year-old, my 5-year-old, my soon-to-be 8-year-old, my 10-year-old, and my soon-to-be 12-year-old, They all listen to the same book. They all do their own projects on it. They all do their own assignments. I will twerk them as I need to fit each one. But it is amazing how much more your younger kids are going to pick up than what they would have picked up if you did something just for their age. And it's amazing to see what my older kids can do with a book that might be a little under their level, but how far they can stretch it in their assignments and how really deep they can go and their own ideas on how deep they should go. Like, I just find it amazing, and it really teaches you something about them. Like, you thought of doing that. You made that your own. That was your own lesson plan. That's amazing, right? Like my kid with the faces of the moon and Russia and Siberia, and she came and told me all these things. I didn't know about Russia and Siberia, and I just find it really awesome. It gets me really excited, and so I could not wait until tomorrow to share it with you guys. Now it'll be tomorrow when you watch it, but I couldn't go to sleep until I had my fun book discussion. I hope that helps you guys. If you have any questions about how I do any of it, I am more than happy to go into further detail with you in the comments. Just leave me all the questions you have, and I can talk about this all day long. I'm telling you. But it's a really fun and creative way to do school outside of the box, to raise more independent thinkers and independent learners, and to really form those bonds with your family. And like I said, a book, a notebook, a library card, some pencils, and you're done. And you have school, you guys. It's amazing. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope you are as excited as I am about learning this way. It makes me super excited. So I hope it makes you excited too. If you have not yet, please subscribe. That would make me super excited also. Like this comment or like this video if you enjoyed it, and comment down below any questions you have, or if you have any ideas to add to everything I just said. Because other people reading the comments and watching this video, hey, I'm sure they'd love to hear your ideas too, and so would I. We will see you next time, you guys. Bye.